The untold story of how Airbnb survived rejection 1,000 times. In 2008, two struggling designers in San Francisco stared at their rent bill. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia had $40 left in their bank account, no investors, and no plan B. Their dream of building a company seemed impossible. But that desperation sparked a radical idea. What if they turned their apartment into a kind of bed and breakfast, not with rooms, but with air mattresses? They called it Airbed and Breakfast. Three strangers paid $80 each to sleep on the floor during a sold-out design conference. It worked. For one weekend, they had money in their pockets and hope in their hearts. But turning that quirky hack into a real business, that would take more than hope. It would take survival against 1,000 rejections. The struggle nobody believed in. When Brian and Joe pitched their idea, almost no one understood it. Strangers in my house. Sleeping in my bed. That'll never work. Investors laughed them out of the room. One well-known venture capitalist told them, "This is the worst idea I've ever heard." Another said, "The market is too small. Nobody will ever trust this." And yet, rejection after rejection, they refused to quit. But there was a problem: they were broke. Completely broke. So, they started selling cereal boxes. Yes, cereal boxes. During the 2008 US election, they designed custom Obama O's and Cap'n McCain boxes, sold them for $40 each, and made over $30,000. That money kept Airbnb alive when investors wouldn't. Still, the doubts grew louder. Even Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, initially dismissed them. "You're selling breakfast cereal. This isn't a company." But after seeing their persistence, Graham finally gave them a chance. The turning point. In 2009, Airbnb joined Y Combinator. For the first time, they had mentorship and a tiny amount of funding. But the biggest lesson came not from Silicon Valley, but from real people. Brian, Joe, and their co-founder Nathan Blecharczyk flew to New York, where most of their users were. They met hosts face-to-face, took photos of apartments, and listened to their stories. They learned that trust was the missing piece. People didn't just want a room, they wanted safety, connection, and community. Slowly, they rebuilt the platform with better design, secure payments, and verified photos. Users started to believe. Hosts began opening their doors. And guests discovered they weren't just booking a room, they were experiencing a city like a local. The 1,000 rejections. But even then, the world wasn't ready. Airbnb faced lawsuits, angry hotel lobbies, and headlines calling them illegal hotels. Cities tried to shut them down. Investors still doubted them. Brian once said, "We got rejected by investors at least 1,000 times. If you think I'm exaggerating, I can show you the emails." Every no felt crushing. But each rejection became fuel. They believed in a future no one else could see, a future where strangers would trust strangers, and belonging anywhere wasn't just a slogan, but a way of life. The breakthrough. By 2011, Airbnb had grown beyond the US. They were expanding into Europe and Asia, hosting millions of stays. What started as air mattresses in a San Francisco apartment had become a global phenomenon. Then came the ultimate validation. In 2015, Airbnb was valued at $25 billion, more than most hotel chains. And during the 2020 pandemic, when travel collapsed, many thought Airbnb would finally die. Instead, they reinvented again, focusing on local stays and long-term rentals. In December 2020, Airbnb went public, worth over $100 billion on opening day. The company that was once laughed at as three guys renting air mattresses had survived every rejection, every doubt, and every obstacle. The untold lesson. The untold story of Airbnb isn't just about business. It's about persistence against impossible odds. Imagine if Brian and Joe had stopped after the first no. Imagine if selling cereal felt too embarrassing. Imagine if they had believed the investors who told them they were foolish. There would be no Airbnb. No millions of hosts. No billions of guest stays. No revolution in how we travel. Instead, Airbnb exists because two founders embraced rejection as part of the journey. They didn't just survive 1,000 rejections, they built a company on top of them. The takeaway: every great idea sounds crazy at first. Every world-changing company is born out of disbelief. Airbnb's story reminds us that rejection isn't the end, it's the beginning of resilience. Each no is simply a test. How badly do you want this dream? So the next time the world doubts you, remember Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia. Remember the cereal boxes. Remember the air mattresses. And remember that sometimes, the difference between failure and a $100 billion company is surviving rejection just one more time.